Hello viewers and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. Now once again taxation is on the agenda. I'm joined now by Dennis Berdows of Baker and McKenzie. Dennis, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak on very interesting subjects.
Not at all. Okay, so firstly, can you talk us through some of the changes in taxation regulation and also, perhaps more importantly, how this has changed the way in which your clients do business?
There are a number of interesting debates and important debates which may really change the landscape of the taxation of Swiss entities and more particularly multinational companies operating in Switzerland. You may know that since 2007 the discussion started with the European Union, which challenged basically Switzerland on certain tax regimes granted to corporations operating in Switzerland. It's a long discussions, but now we are really nearing the end of the discussions, and basically the EU was challenging Switzerland on essentially two tax regimes. The first one on holding company regimes, but probably the most important one is the so-called auxiliary company regimes, where certain corporations could benefit from a substantial reduction of cantonal taxes at the cantonal level. And these companies, rather than paying an ordinary rate of tax of about 24% in Geneva, were paying 11.5%. And the same regimes, by the way, were applying in all cantons, not only Geneva. And really Switzerland had to think about, taking a position, and finally we got to the position where Switzerland officially announced, or will officially announce soon, that it is in agreement with dropping these tax regimes. And now the big discussions is what will replace these regimes, because really Switzerland is keen on keeping the attraction of Switzerland from a tax point of view. We obviously don't want to lose all these important companies operating in Switzerland and also in Geneva.
How then has this changed your business and also the type of advice that you provide to your clients?
Well, basically we are trying to anticipate the change, and the problem is that more companies knew for a relatively certain time that these regimes would change. They knew that Switzerland would be doing something to come with alternate solutions, interesting solutions, but these solutions today are not yet officially disclosed. There are a lot of debates. So for companies, they were really in a period of uncertainty. They know that sooner or later they will lose some of their tax advantages, but they don't know by which this will be replaced. And basically our role would be essentially to try to anticipate the changes based on our knowledge of the discussions and the debates going on, and to see whether they have also the preconditions or fulfill the conditions maybe to have another tax regimes at the end of this famous period where the regimes will be dropped. So that would be one point. The other thing is that newcomers, basically new companies, hesitate much more before choosing Switzerland. Obviously there is a lot of competition internationally. Other countries, including within the EU, offer very good privileges, tax advantages. And basically when you have to attract these companies at a certain time where you don't know exactly what will be their future from a tax point of view, it's quite difficult.
So if you're talking then about attempting to preempt changes then, how would you advise business holders to look within their own organisation in order to attempt this?
Yeah, I think you have to think about what the future will be. And basically what Switzerland is trying to do now is look at some other tax regimes which would be Euro compatible, obviously, and then to see how these companies could fit within those regimes. One obvious one which is being discussed, which will be most likely implemented, is the so-called IP box, or intellectual property box regime, which consists in favoring the income from intellectual property. The shape of that regime, at least in Switzerland, is not known yet. We are discussing various alternatives, because also within Europe you see countries with totally different models. So you have a very strict model, for instance, where a company eligible for this type of regime would have to hold patents or develop patents, have research activities done in Switzerland, for instance. There is a mid-regime, basically where the company would hold patents but also trademarks, and then you have a very large regimes where a company could hold patents, trademarks, but any type of intellectual property like know-how, goodwill, marketing know-how. And basically one of the idea would be to see, you know, are those companies holding such types of assets, because if they do, basically they may be eligible for the future regime. Again, it's a bit too early to say exactly how this IP box regime would be shaped. We are waiting also a little bit some decisions to be taken at the EU, which is reviewing certain regimes of EU countries. But so a lot of countries have these IP regimes within the EU, and they are going to be assessed. So their conclusions on the assessment of this IP regime would probably also direct a little bit the direction in which we are going. Another important aspect is local substance, and that maybe relates to another important subject which is more recent, that has been opened at the OECD level, which is the BEPS initiative of the BEPS action plan. And one of the goal of that plan is really to try to better align, at least the stated purpose, the right to tax with real economic activities. So basically these regimes probably need to be also supported by local substance, some real activities. We should probably avoid in the future activities where you have a nice structure, very light structure, good tax advantages. Probably you need to have a real economic activity. So that's also a word to give to the clients. Even so, in Switzerland, our traditional tax regimes were very often associated with some nice substance.
Dennis, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your expertise with us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Not at all. That's all we've got time for right now. Don't go away though, I'll be back shortly with another exclusive interview for you. Goodbye for now.